talk about it.
Take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Carlos Alcaraz has won the last 2 Grand Slam titles at the French Open on the clay and at Wimbledon earlier this summer. He enters as the favorite.
You have a bunch of depth there. Francis Tiafoe, Ben Shelton. They will likely play in round 3. The winner would play Djokovic, most likely, which would be an incredible match. I like Ben Shelton as a sleeper. If Djokovic is hurt, you never know. I think Shelton's actually be the guy that gets hot. The conditions favor him.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this.
Welcome to In-Game Live Game Day. I'm Dave Sharapan. I'm always joined every night by Scott Wetzel, and he will be here. And we will be able to hear him, and he will be able to hear us, or at least me. We got the boys in the back working. Everybody's here. There's big games all night, and we do it every night. It's Thursday night. The thing that at least is most important tonight for me, I don't know if you can see this OKC hat, but OKC is playing Cleveland in what some might call an NBA Finals preview. I don't know if I'm ready to call it that, but I know I'm going to call it a good basketball game because there's other games listed right there on tonight's NBA slate. The Detroit Pistons against the Indiana Pacers. I don't know if that's a good basketball game. There's probably a good betting opportunity. The Phoenix Suns at Washington. That's definitely not a good basketball game. And I don't even know if that's a good betting opportunity. But Cleveland OKC is something that I think we're going to keep our eyes on exclusively, at least at the beginning. So we have that, NBA. We have a full slate of hockey tonight, and Wetzel will be in from the beach house, and I'm sure he's probably got a same-game parlay, probably a Black Cloud play with something. But tonight's NHL slate, there's a lot of early games. The Devils and the Maple Leafs, that's a pretty good hockey game. And right now, it's Devils 1, Maple Leafs nothing after the first period. The Red Wings coming off a really bad loss, and we were on the other night and thought that they would probably beat the Sharks. They did not. They're playing in Florida tonight. It's tied 1-1 after one period there. The Blue Jackets already lead the Sharks 2-0. The Sharks, man, they got some weird trends where you look at this. I mean, 15 and 58 in their last 73 road games. But they did win last night at Detroit. And the Columbus Blue Jackets are playing their best hockey this season. No joke. 9-3 in their last 12 games, which includes 5 straight. So personally, I like the over tonight in that game. This trend here would lead me to believe that the Blue Jackets would be the right side. They're already up 2-0 after one. Second period just underway. So we got that working for us. We got the Flames are playing the Blues later, and that one's coming up right now, bottom of the hour, getting ready to drop the puck. And I feel like the Flames play the Blues all the time. And there's always things we can find. And Scott does such a great job during the day finding these team trends. Look at this 9-20. What is this? 9-21 in their last 30 road games. That doesn't make you want to bet the Flames. 13-2 in their last 15 versus the Flames for the Blues. Small favorite. Seems cheap. Minus 130, minus 135. So that's one I think we got to keep an eye on. There's another one, though. The Predators are playing the Chicago Blackhawks tonight. And I love these numbers because you have to find a reason to bet the Chicago Blackhawks right now. When you see these things, I mean, the current price of this game, there's the number, minus 285. Oh, yeah, check Nashville's record. They aren't a good hockey team, right? 14, 22, and 7, which is good for 7th in the Central. And, oh, by the way, they're a $3 favorite. How bad are the Chicago Blackhawks? Oh, yeah, 1-12 in their last 13 road games. And this is one of those series where one team dominates the other. 10-1 in their last 11 for the Predators against the Blackhawks. So when you look at that, you go, boy, this is an automatic play. And then you look at the price and you go, okay, that becomes a little uncomfortable. I don't know if we're going to do that. So that's a good one to look at. We got some other games later we'll get to. Kraken and the Jets actually is coming up now as well. I don't want to say that's a good hockey game either because we got the Jets minus 220, minus 225 or so. So another one you got to keep an eye on. I don't know if it's a good number to take the Kraken. We'll see. We're going to find in hockey, when you play hockey, which I did for a long, long time, and I'm going to get back on the ice despite what my wife says, you got to, get guys on the team. You got to find guys who are line mates, who you could just, like you get to the point where you're going to the net and you can just leave a drop pass for a guy because he's there. We got some audio issues and some things working on behind the scenes, so it's like a shift change. We're going to the power play, and we got a guy who's ready. George, your shift is up. Are you ready? You want to jump on the ice here? You good?
I'm hopping the boards, baby. Hopping the boards. So hopefully not a too many man penalty here. So away we go here. And I got to tell you, Dave, my wife is very happy I'm no longer on the ice, playing or reffing. She wanted that done with years ago, and I guess she got her wish.
Oh, that's no good. I'm looking, George. Believe it or not, I'm looking at a new pair of skates. I'm going to get a new pair of skates. I got to put the CCM tacks that I've had for 30 years, and they still hurt my feet, but I love them, and they're tight, and I know how good they feel. I said, I'm getting a new pair of skates. And she said, what do you mean? You're going to go back and play? I said, I think so. So we're in a debate right now. Is there a debate tonight to play the Rangers against the Utah Hockey Club, George? I mean, I looked at that game and went, wait, okay. Mm-hmm. I mean, Utah hasn't been good at home. You got to make a number. You have to make the Rangers favored the way they're playing. This looks so off to me. Like, I feel like the Utah should be minus 120, and I'd let people bet the Rangers, but they already are because they're favored. What say you with this hockey game?
See, the problem, I agree with you. You would think Utah, the Rangers have played like crap most of the season, or at least since November on, right? They have not been a very good team here. They traded players away. They've had injuries, a lot of internal turmoil there. And you would think they would have been the favorites. They would have been the underdogs tonight going into Utah. Not at home. It's in Utah. It's the first thing I thought of. I'm like, oh, great. I'm going to take the Rangers because they've been playing so much better of late. Not great, but better of late. And Utah can't get out of their own way at home. And then you see the spread where I got minus 118 here. I'm still taking the Rangers tonight. That was my initial inclination before I saw the lines here. I just thought it might be reversed. I think they got the line right. You already said it. Utah is miserable at home. They're not playing all that well lately, and the Rangers are playing better. So I think the line is right. I was just hoping that Utah would get a little bigger bump being the home team.
Crazy. They're on a 3-game West Coast trip where they beat the Devils before they left, and then they came to Vegas and beat the Golden Knights on Saturday night, lost Tuesday to the Avalanche in overtime in a really fun hockey game, 3-2 final, which I watched a lot of the second and the third period after we got off the air here. And tonight they finished the road trip in Utah. This is, George, for East Coast teams for years, they talked about the Western Canada swing and how hard it was. You try and, you would try to get 3 points. Back in the day, you try to get a win, you try to get a tie, right? Like that was the way old school thinking was. And now this little, do I call it the mountain trip, the mountain time zone trip? Well, maybe maybe you go Denver, Utah, and Vegas, which is a little 3-game gauntlet. I don't know. Igor's playing better. They're maybe getting the lines worked out. They're not giving up nearly as many scoring chances. Game says under or over to you. I'm thinking under.
I'm thinking under as well. I don't love it, mainly because, when it's shocking that the Rangers scored 4 tonight, it wouldn't shock me. All right, and that's my issue there. If it's 4, then not that I think the game would necessarily go over. Then 4-2, I don't even get my under. So sister kisser there. So I still lean towards you though. I like the under in the game. The Rangers, like I said, they haven't hit that goal scoring yet. But Mika Zibanejad is playing a little bit better of late. Kreider's back. Panarin's had a solid season when healthy in there. But still, I'm going the under as well. 4-1.
Well, I'm glad you're here. The boys in the back are glad you're here, and you ain't leaving. We need you. Thanks for taking the shift and staying. I'm Dave, East George. This is In-Game Live Game Day. We'll be back after this.
This Sunday, the Rams carry the weight of their city when they face the Eagles. Then it's a clash of MVP-caliber quarterbacks, Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. SportsGrid has you covered all day, starting at 8 a.m. with FST for daily fantasy lineups. Lock in your picks with Pro Football Today and stay dialed in with real-time betting on In-Game Live Game Day, only on SportsGrid.
The NBA will take center stage once football stops, and people will watch the NBA playoffs and all that. But the standings are whacked out in the Western Conference. Like Oklahoma City, Memphis, and the Houston Rockets are the best teams in the conference.
You want to talk about a team with overs and no defense? The Wizards are your team. It's unbelievable. They can't make a total high enough. It's nuts.
Sports Rage tonight. Weeknights 10 p.m. to 12 a.m. Only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
I remember one time, I don't know if Kenny will remember this, I said put 100 on, I think I left it on a text, put 100 on this horse that won, and then Kenny called me back later and goes, hey, I never got the text. And I'm like,
no.
Oh yeah. Remember that, Kenny?
I would never stiff anybody. He texted me as they're loading into the gate, maybe, like it's too late.
The Bostonian versus the Book. The defending champion Kansas City Chiefs aim for an unprecedented third straight Super Bowl, but the Texans are ready to end the dynasty. Then the Commanders, fresh off their first playoff win since 2006, take on the high-powered offense of the Detroit Lions. Start your game day with Pro Football Today at 10 a.m. for pregame betting. Then stay in the action with In-Game Live Game Day, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back. It is In-Game Live. I'm Dave Sharapan. With me tonight, right now at least, and hanging, is George Kurtz. George Kurtz, who we're about the same age. We share a lot of the same interests, a lot of the same things. We'll discuss that. We had the passing of Bob Uecker today, which, again, George, you remember the commercials. Like other people remember Bob Uecker in the movie Major League. And I said it earlier today on my show, Bostonian vs. the Book, that Bob Uecker was brought into a whole nother generation with the movie at Major League. But how good were those commercials? I must be in the front row.
They were fantastic. The Miller Lite commercials back in the day. So it brought so many people into really, I guess, the public view. John Madden had a big one, of course, when he busted through a thing like the Kool-Aid Man. So it's just, it's a sad day, because Bob Uecker was a part of our youth. And you mentioned, the commercials. You mentioned Major League. Dave, he also did Saturday afternoon baseball. Was one of the announcers on there with Joe Garagiola back in the day in the '80s. So it's just a sad day. The announcer for the Milwaukee Brewers, of course. He was 90 years old. It wasn't like he, it happens here, but maybe
That's a
like
good number, George.
Mr. Belvedere. Remember that too?
Another one that we had on, a young guy today from LA, Nick Hamilton. He was great. He mentioned that's how he knew Bob Uecker was Mr. Belvedere. I tried to explain to the kids that there was a time, George, where Saturday baseball game of the week was the only game other than your local team that you got to see anybody. You got to see the uniforms, you got to see the stadiums, you got to see all this stuff. And he was a big part of that broadcast. There was guys like Tony Kubek. You said Joe Garagiola. Like the game of the week, not during football season, was Monday Night Baseball. I remember that. That was the night game. But the Saturday day game was must-watch television. Can you imagine with the power of the phones and everything on demand and we're on a streaming network? You wouldn't have told me 35 years ago when we were home watching those Saturday games that all this would exist and we'd be able to see all these games on a device like the Jetsons. Do you remember how good the Saturday games were?
It was, for anybody who doesn't realize, we didn't see the teams. I'm a Yankee fan. All right, I saw the Mets, but I didn't see much of the Dodgers or the Cincinnati Reds back then, how good they were with the big red machine. Right? It's a Pittsburgh Pirates seeing Dave Parker, Willie Stargell, guys like this. You just didn't see these guys. So it was a huge thing. You mentioned Monday Night Baseball with, Howard Cosell. Yeah, it was just, Keith Jackson. It was just fantastic. It was big time theater. It was just big time theater. I don't want to go back to those days. I've always said, being a Dallas Cowboy fan, the best thing that ever came out was the Sunday Ticket, and I could watch the Cowboys in the '90s and how great they were. When that came out there, I love having the package. I'm watching 6 hockey games right now, right? So it's just but I can't watch the Islanders or the Devils. Yes, I'm going to complain about this every time I'm on one of these shows because MSG and Optima are still fighting, so I can't watch the Islanders, Devils, Rangers, Knicks too. If you're a Knicks fan.
This is bad. I saw you and Carver, you tricked the bots on the social, on Twitter, because they respond to you on there. They don't respond to you when you call, and they leave you on hold for a long time. I hope you get that worked out because you got to watch the games. I think watching the games is important for betting. Do you?
Oh, yeah.
Because it really has always helped me in looking at a game, like tonight, later. And I know you're not an overly NBA guy, but the Clippers are playing Portland tonight, okay? You look at that game. The Clippers beat the Brooklyn Nets last night by 59 points, George. I don't even know what that equates to hockey-wise. If it's an 8-0 win, 59 is the 9th largest margin of victory in NBA history in a regular season. The in-game number that was on after we got off the air was as high as 62.5. 62.5 in a basketball game. And I looked at it tonight, and the Clippers are only -7 at Portland. I just got off Game Time Decisions with K-Dub, and he said he likes Portland tonight plus the points. How many points would I have to give you, George, to willingly hand me money to say, yes, I want Portland to cover the spread tonight?
I can sort of understand it because you're playing back-to-back nights. And a lot of teams don't play well in the second half. So I think that's where he's going here. All right. And I do the same thing in the NHL. I love to pick on teams playing on the second half of back-to-back nights. Listen, I'm picking against the Oilers tonight. I know they're playing Colorado. Maybe I would have picked against them anyway. But a big part of the reason is they're playing on the second half of back-to-back nights. It's tough. Right? You got to travel and you're tired. So I don't really have an issue with this. I wouldn't need it. What I'm trying to say is I wouldn't need a lot of points. And to answer your initial question, by the way, I think watching games, is imperative. You got to do in-game betting. I'm not going to do an in-game bet if I didn't watch. I don't know what's going on here. I don't know what the flow is. You just take an NHL game. If you're looking at stats here, one team's out shooting the other team 25-10. Well, that must mean they're outplaying them. Probably, but not necessarily. Those 25 shots could be all from the perimeter, easy saves, while those 10 shots were all in close from the slot and such, and the goalie standing on his head. So that's why I need to for in-game betting. I need to watch. If I'm doing an in-game bet and I didn't watch the game, then I'm either bored or I'm just throwing a couple of bucks on to see what happens here. If I'm going to bet anything significant, it's because I am watching the game.
I think it's crucial. And you have to understand, a lot of people new to the business of betting or new to watching games and betting, you're behind. No matter what feed you're on, you're behind what the sportsbooks see or have. So the line will move before you see something happen. You have to anticipate when you make these in-game bets what you think is going to happen, or only bet during the breaks. If you're not comfortable with trying to anticipate, or you try to get frustrated not getting a bet in, then just bet during the breaks, because that's the most level playing field. When I was in the book, putting the numbers up, that's when we got the most bets, and it's really the most fair thing going. It's not fair. NBA, game of the night, right? OKC, 57, Cleveland Cavaliers, 33. 5 minutes to go in the second quarter. I was all excited to watch that game. I don't got to worry about it. George got his eye on the hockey. We'll be here. I'm Dave. He's George. In-game live game day continues after this break.
This Sunday, the Rams carry the weight of their city when they face the Eagles. Then it's a clash of MVP caliber quarterbacks, Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. SportsGrid has you covered all day, starting at 8 a.m. with FST for daily fantasy lineups. Lock in your picks with Pro Football Today and stay dialed in with real-time betting on in-game live game day, only on SportsGrid.
The NBA will take center stage once football stops, and people will watch the NBA playoffs and all that. But the standings are whacked out in the Western Conference. Like Oklahoma City, Memphis, and the Houston Rockets are the best teams in the conference.
You want to talk about a team with overs and no defense? The Wizards are your team. It's unbelievable. They can't make a total high enough. It's nuts.
Sports Rage tonight. Weeknights 10 p.m. to 12 a.m. Only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
I remember one time, I don't know if Kenny will remember this. I said put 100 on, I think I left it on a text. Put 100 on this horse that won, and then Kenny called me back later and goes, hey, I never got the text. And I'm like,
no.
Oh, yeah. Remember that, Kenny?
I would never stiff anybody. He texted me as they're loading into the gate, maybe. Like, it's too late.
The Bostonian versus the Book. The defending champion Kansas City Chiefs aim for an unprecedented third straight Super Bowl, but the Texans are ready to end the dynasty. Then the Commanders, fresh off their first playoff win since 2006, take on the high-powered offense of the Detroit Lions. Start your game day with Pro Football Today at 10 a.m. for pregame betting. Then stay in the action with in-game live game day, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back, In-Game Live Game Day. I'm Dave Sharapan, and we are watching games. I don't know how many bets we're making yet because the NBA games legitimately are just not good. I mean, some nights you show up to work like this and you get Pacers, Pistons, 69-56 at the half. You get Suns leading the Wizards 71-55, second half just underway. And you get the OKC Thunder, who odds makers had -2, 57-33 with 5 minutes to go. So what do you do in that situation? Well, you do what me and George Kurtz do all the time. Watch hockey. There's good hockey games going on, George. Devils leading 2-1 over the Maple Leafs. I'm all right with that. The Red Wings and Panthers are tied 2-2. 8 minutes left in the second. George, Washington and the Senators tied 0-0 with 3 minutes to go in the second period. Surprising to you that this is a low-scoring game?
No, not at all. The Senators, with this new goalie they got, trying to pronounce his name is going to be fun. Moralainen. He
I was
is
going to let you do it.
fantastic. By the way, that's a complete guess. That's a complete guess. Maybe I got it right. Maybe I didn't. But it sounded good, right? I might have gotten it.
Close.
But he's been fantastic. Shut out the Islanders the other night. I understand that's the Islanders. They don't have the greatest offense. But he also had a good game over the weekend. I forget who they played. He has been fantastic in replace of was it Omar, who's out on the IR with injury here.
Yeah.
And the Senators are a decent team. Anyway, Washington's been – I mean, Dave, I kind of equate the Washington Capitals sort of towards the Minnesota Vikings and the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Oh, don't say it, George. What are you saying?
I don't think they're
you
as
don't
good as their
believe
record,
what's happening?
man. I don't think they're as good as their record, but they're playing great. All right, they're playing great. Two good solid goaltenders. Doesn't matter who they put in there. I know Lindgren's banged up right now, but I like the under in this game. I like the Capitals as well. So I'm on the Capitals and the under. So, no, I'm not surprised that I'm thrilled there's no score, actually. I didn't think it'd be 0-0 going into the third. So, but I'll take it. This is good. We'll take this.
Another noticeable trend, if you've been paying any attention to hockey, is the Islanders having a lead and then not finishing with the lead. I just have to bring it up. I'm just looking. It's 1-0 Islanders at home against the Flyers after one. Is it time, George, to take the Flyers plus 230? I mean, the game closed minus 135 or 140 with the Islanders, and the price has doubled, almost tripled. It's only 1-0, and you know, you're an Islander fan. This one's far from over.
Now, what Dave's trying to tell us that the Islanders have struggled is probably not putting it nicely. They have been awful holding leads in the third period. They have. All right. They blew it, the 2-goal lead to Boston. I believe it was a week ago from Sunday. Then they won a couple of games. Congratulations. They didn't blow a lead. Got shut out on Tuesday. And by the way, this is not just a this year problem, Dave. They've had this problem with third period leads for years. All right, so it's just the players. They grip those sticks tighter. They get nervous in the third period. That being said, the Islanders have been getting great goaltending of late. Sorokin, before he had the illness, had a shutout, and then they bring up Hogberg from the AHL. A couple of really good games. He only lost 2-0 the other night. Not his fault, And once again, Sorokin's got the shutout tonight. That being said, I was on the under, but I'm on the under in most Islander games. It's not a shock. The Islanders don't have an offense, and I did bet pregame Philadelphia because Philadelphia has been sort of a fun team. You don't know what you're going to get from them. Yeah. They score goals, Dave. They score goals. Yep. So I am with you about what you're talking about, but I might wait a little bit. All right, what are we here? I can't even find this game. So there we go. 1-0 minus. They're getting plus 215. I might wait a little bit. I think I'm going to get a better price, unless you want to go back in more than once, which you certainly can do. But I might wait a little bit. The Islanders' problems holding leads, by the way, have been in the third period, not the second, for whatever reason.
Right.
It's always the third period.
Okay. So if you wait and the Flyers score, you're going to get not even half the price. So the danger of waiting is that you blow that good big plus money price. But if the Islanders score another goal, you'll be getting 4-1. So good idea. If you think they'll score the next goal, bet the Flyers now. If you don't, wait. Speaking of scoring the next goal, it might be the differentiator, although there's still 9 minutes left in the first period. The Montreal Canadiens are at the Dallas Stars. Montreal playing their best hockey of the season. 30 seconds left before the break. Montreal live tonight?
Rupe Hintz is out for the Dallas Stars tonight. He got hurt in this last game. I think it was a chest injury. Didn't come back. Once again, under. I hate betting all these unders. Under, and yes, small play. Small play on Les Habitants.
George doesn't like unders. You could see the pain on his face when he said, under again. We'll be back after the break. In-game live game day. Dave and George will be here with you.
This Sunday, the Rams carry the weight of their city when they face the Eagles. Then it's a clash of MVP caliber quarterbacks, Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. SportsGrid has you covered all day, starting at 8 a.m. with FST for daily fantasy lineups. Lock in your picks with Pro Football Today and stay dialed in with real-time betting on in-game live game day, only on SportsGrid.
The NBA will take center stage once football stops, and people will watch the NBA playoffs and all that. But the standings are whacked out in the Western Conference. Like Oklahoma City, Memphis, and the Houston Rockets are the best teams in the conference.
You want to talk about a team with overs and no defense? The Wizards are your team. It's unbelievable. They can't make a total high enough. It's nuts.
Sports Rage tonight, weeknights 10 p.m. to 12 a.m., only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
I remember one time, I don't know if Kenny will remember this. I said put 100 on, I think I left it on a text. Put 100 on this horse that won, and then Kenny called me back later and goes, "Hey, I never got the text." And I'm like,
no.
Oh yeah. Remember that,
I
Kenny?
would never stiff anybody. He texted me as they're loading into the gate, maybe. Like, it's too late.
The Bostonian versus the Book. The defending champion Kansas City Chiefs aim for an unprecedented third straight Super Bowl, but the Texans are ready to end the dynasty. Then the Commanders, fresh off their first playoff win since 2006, take on the high-powered offense of the Detroit Lions. Start your game day with Pro Football Today at 10 a.m. for pregame betting. Then stay in the action with in-game live game day, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back. In-game live game day tonight, Thursday. Previewing the games tonight, talking about and betting the games tonight. But with me, George Kurtz, noted Dallas Cowboy fan. Everybody on the network knows that. The Cowboys aren't in the playoffs, George, but we got to take a couple minutes right now and talk about the divisional playoffs. Well, the Steelers aren't in the playoffs either. That's fine. I knew the Steelers weren't going to be in the playoffs. But there's a game. We'll work in reverse order. Let's start on Sunday with the game of the year. All right. I haven't talked to you all week, but I haven't found anybody that likes Buffalo other than Mike Carver. Mike Carver's been on it. Cam's kind of mentioned that he likes Buffalo. I know Gabe loves Buffalo. What do you like, if you like, a side in that game or a total in the Sunday night game, Ravens -1 at the Bills, total 51.5?
I think it's going to be a great game. Looking forward to it. I am of the belief that whoever wins this game does win the AFC. They'll go. I think they'll beat Kansas City or Houston, whoever wins that game. I liked Buffalo a whole lot until I keep seeing this weather. All right, 12 degrees. 12 degrees is freaking cold. All right. Listen, you and I are in the Northeast. It's, what is it, 25 here now? 27, whatever it is. It's cold, but 27 degrees and 12 degrees are completely different. I mean, it feels much worse than just a 15-degree difference. And I think this hurts Baltimore. I don't know if Zay Flowers is going to play or not. We heard Harbaugh today and say Zay could play Sunday even without practicing all week. Not so sure it matters. Mm-hmm. That ball is like a rock when it's that cold. It's very difficult to throw. I think this plays perfectly at the Buffalo's hands. Just don't let – and this is much easier said than done. Just don't let Derrick Henry go nuts. All right? I know it's not fun to tackle the man. And it's not going to be fun to tackle Lamar Jackson either. But Baltimore has the same problem trying to keep Josh Allen. Right? They got the same problem trying to get James Cook. I think this is going to be a very close game. I've changed my mind here. I was on Baltimore. The weather makes me think it's going to be – I think Buffalo will handle it a little better. I know Baltimore, once again, they're a Northeast team too, but no one's used to this kind of cold. Buffalo is. But my favorite bet will be, I don't think we're going to get the over. I think that's it's a nice normal night, sure. I think with this kind of cold here, no, I think we get under. I like the under much more than I like the team bet in this game. But I'm going to switching my mind here. And listen, it's Thursday night. By the time Sunday night comes around, I might change my mind again. But right now,
That's
I'm
the
going
thing.
Buffalo, but I won't change my mind on the under. I do like the under in this game.
Yeah, I mean, I get buddies now that have gone back and forth with this one. One guy's watching the show right now, Mr. Anderson. He's been on Bostonian versus the book in the chat talking about, I like this today and I like this tomorrow. This is the game that I think, I mean, the line already flipped. Buffalo opened as a short favorite, and now Baltimore's the favorite. The total has ticked down a little bit, just a point or maybe a half a point in some places, depending on if anybody actually opened at 52, maybe 51.5. So I love it. I hope the game lives up to the billing. That's the main thing that I really want to happen. The Derrick Henry to score a touchdown anytime. Everybody's going to bet it. Everybody's been betting it and making money off of it. He's going to score a touchdown. Will he score 2 or 3? I think that's a legitimate bet. Will he score 2 is worth something because the price is right. I think Josh Allen has the game that everybody wants Josh Allen to have. I know I want him to have it. I'd love to see Baltimore do it. The other game on Saturday is in Philadelphia. On Sunday. On Sunday. Philadelphia is hosting the Rams. We saw the Rams on Monday night completely dismantle you calling them the Washington Capitals of the NFL, the Minnesota Vikings. What do you make of this game? Because it's going to be cold, and Philadelphia ran all over them in L.A. not that long ago. Saquon cashed everybody's ticket. That's when the real Saquon for MVP talk began. Does that happen again Sunday, or are we seeing a different game?
Yeah, Saquon ran for 255 yards in that game that you're talking about, that Sunday night game. I don't think you want to talk about Saquon and cashing tickets after he went down on purpose with like a 20-point lead on Sunday. For the love of God, there was no point to that Saquon run to the end zone. Okay, and yes, I did have a ticket on Saquon to score a touchdown, so a lot of us are angry about that. That was extremely upsetting, to put it nicely. That there was no reason for him to sit down. You had a 20-point lead. What? Angry is what I was. You only do that with a 1 or a 2-point lead, not a whatever. When I think of this, Dave, I think of the last time we saw the Rams play in a bad weather game. Was that Thursday night game against San Fran, and that offense was atrocious. All right, they couldn't get anything done here. Now, that being said, it's going to be 34, about mid-30s, so it's cold, but not brutal cold. It's normal cold for this time of year if you live in the Northeast. They're saying some snow. Now, listen, if it's just flurries, nobody cares. All right, if it's coming down like a blizzard, that could be a different story. Although from the looks of it, it's probably just more flurry. It's not going to accumulate more than anything else. I worry about this, Dave. We also saw Kyron Williams in that game. He did the splits, right? Almost fun with the football on that play. We haven't heard anything all week. I need to make sure he's completely healthy. If he's not, I think the Rams might get wiped out here. If he's healthy, I think they can keep it somewhat close. The Eagles' passing offense has not looked good. Hurts looks a little off. A.J. Brown's reading Tolstoy on the sidelines there. We'll see what can happen. What I'm trying to say is this. I think Philadelphia wins the game. I like them in a teaser. I love them in a teaser because I think they will win the game here. But I think the Rams can keep it close enough. I'll take the Rams on the points.
Yeah. Tolstoy reference. Boy, boys and girls, if you don't know what that is, that was outstanding work by you, George. Nobody mentions Tolstoy ever. Wetzel wouldn't even say that. I can't wait to see how that game starts. That feels like first half under to me in another dull kind of game where the Rams are going to take a little while to get going, coming off of that emotional high. And God bless everybody in those wildfires and fighting that and what you've had to go through there. And everybody's behind that team. And that was an emotional, perfect performance from that defense. I don't know if they can do it again. That's the thing I'm thinking. Saturday, which, when you look at the games, it's the B side of the weekend. The Chiefs against the Texans. The Lions against the Commanders. All right, there's the first game. Do we got a shot to win if we're the dog here, the Texans, or cover? Either or neither, George. Where you at with this one?
Well, first off, it's death, taxes, and it doesn't matter who the Houston Texans play. Even the Super Bowl champions, Pat Mahomes, you're playing 4:30 on Saturday in the playoffs, right? That's all you get. You get nothing else. My God. It's just hilarious. You're playing the Super Bowl champion, Andy Reid, Pat Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift, and you're
Saturday.
4:30. That's all you get here. You'll never play another time other than that. So I just kind of find that funny. Listen, what have we seen all year with the Chiefs? You just mentioned the Eagles, right? I think the two deficits this weekend that we've seen all year, the Eagles get off to a slow start. They usually do. First quarter's blah. And the Chiefs win, but don't cover. I think that's what we're going to see again. I think the Chiefs will win the game, but I think Houston will cover. That being said, we found out, a couple of hours ago now, that Joe Mixon, a little iffy. He may not play now. If Anthony he's out, I might change my opinion here, but I think he plays. I think Damian Pierce might be good enough anyway. So once again, Houston covers, but they lose. Another possible teaser opportunity here.
Yeah, this will be the start of the teasers that we'll read. Kansas City, Detroit, Philadelphia, and they'll key it all to Monday night with Ohio State. So, I don't know. We just saw this game not that long ago. We'll talk more about it after the break. I'm Dave. Live Game Day on SportsGrid.
So my team didn't win this weekend, but I still did with this app that's taking over the game. Sports Millions Pick'em lets you make quick and easy predictions. Pick your favorite players, go higher or lower, and you can still win big even if your team loses. Plus, the multiplier is insane. With just a few picks, you can win big money. So get on it. They've got a welcome bonus to help you start off your winning streak.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the game starts so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back. In-game live game day on a Thursday night. I'm Dave Sharapan, and with me is George Kurtz. Next hour, we'll have a visit from Brady Cannon, and at the back end of that second hour of this show, we'll have Cam Stewart, who's always entertaining, comes in hot, comes in like we're on a 5-on-3 power play, George. I mean, you just wind him up, ask him a question, and God forbid he has the first-round leader after the golf today, because then he has all kinds of bets and all kinds of things happen. We left off talking about the Chiefs. Everybody's talking about the Chiefs. I feel like the one game that nobody's really talking about, George, is the other one on Saturday night with the Lions and the Commanders. Now, the Commanders go down to Tampa and win a road game with a rookie quarterback starting. The Lions have had a bye and have been sitting in that Lions den waiting for this game. The line tells a story. He used to say it all the time in the book. I'm saying it now. I'll say it till my last days on this planet. What story does this line tell you? Because this is 9.5 and 56 was the opener in an NFL playoff game. This is going to look a lot different than a couple of these other games on Sunday. In the dome, nice weather, no weather. This game's going over, is it not?
I mean, come on. I mean, your first inclination is definitely take the under here. I mean, think about it. 56. My only issue is with this. I want to take the under. I truly do. I have not done it yet, but I want to because it's 56. It's crazy. 55.5. It's just nuts here. But that being said, Dan Campbell, he might put up 40. He's not going to take his foot off the gas. You know, they get the 35. He'll get 42. He'll get 40. He doesn't care. Right? I don't think he's going to stop because it's a playoff game. He's not going to be worried about offending Washington. All right. So that's what worries me. That he's not going to stop. And I know that Washington defense isn't all that good. You know, it's sort of playing above their heads here. So I do get worried about that somewhat here. I think Washington could score enough points to make it where they won't need the 40. I think Washington's going to score in the low 20s here. So you're talking now I need 35 points, and I probably get the over. So I think I'm going to approach it like this. I think Detroit wins the game. All right. I said they'll be in. You mentioned they'll be in a teaser. I'll take I'll get another 3.5 or 2.5 if you want to buy the extra point, whatever you feel like doing there. So I'll do that. I definitely think Detroit wins the game. Do they cover the 9.5? Yeah, I think they do. I do. Now, once again, I've sort of changed my opinion on that as the week has gone along here because I think this is going to be a 38-20 game. So I think Washington's going to run out of gas. I think we've seen teams like this all through the years, right? That wild card team that comes out of nowhere wins the wild card round, and then in round 2, it all comes to it comes to a crashing end. Right, they just get wrecked here. It sort of reminds me of the 91 Dallas Cowboys. Before they were great, they beat the Chicago Bears, little surprise, and then they played these Detroit Lions and got the snot kicked out of them.
I remember that.
The same thing. Yeah, so do I. My best friend's a Lions fan. Okay, so yeah.
I was rooting for the Lions that day. That was awesome.
Of course you were.
I remember that game. The Lions were my NFC team, George. I grew up in Pittsburgh. It's nighttime in Pittsburgh behind me. Every show that I do, I love it. I look at the city and I go, oh, yeah. I had to like somebody in the NFC. I picked the Lions because they played on Thanksgiving every day or every year. And Billy Sims was electrifying to watch. I just absolutely – plus I love that Honolulu blue uniforms. So, listen, somebody's going to have to go to Detroit and win a game. Otherwise, Detroit's going to New Orleans. I don't think it's Washington. I don't think they're going to win. But I really do think they got a good shot to cover because of the way Quinn's coaching – where'd that guy coach before? Wasn't he in Dallas?
Atlanta.
He wasn't a bad coach.
Seattle.
Oh, that's right. He was in Atlanta too. That's right. Okay. But he's grown. He's changed. He's got a real feel for that team. And I feel like
Campbell Jr. He gambles
it's unbelievable. He does, but they didn't punt one time last week. Okay. I'm not saying they're not going to not punt again, but I feel like you have to go into this game and go, all right, we're going to go beat the 1 seed in Detroit in their building. We got to score 40. That's got to be the mentality.
Agreed.
They got to keep going, and they ain't going to slow down the running game. The props on the Detroit guys to score a touchdown, Montgomery and Gibbs, minus 250 and minus 190. Both guys are that big of a favorite, almost 2-1 or more. I can't believe it. Make plans Saturday night if you're not really totally going to watch football because this one might be over early. I think maybe the best bet on the board is maybe the Detroit Lions team total because that way you don't need the willing participant or dance partner, so to say, to get the game total over 56. But I think Detroit puts up a minimum of 31, likely 34 or higher. So that's where I'm at with that. Let's do a quick check-in with the hockey, George. Have the Islanders given up the lead yet? I know you're watching it.
No, you got to get to a third period for that. Third period is when the Islanders start choking.
George,
too early.
Hit refresh on your score, George. Hit refresh.
They scored
The
the last
Flyers
couple of
are
minutes.
tied
Are you kidding
1-1.
me?
Flyers are tied
Yeah,
1-1. Yeah.
I see. Sean Cartier scored there. Yay. I guess this is the last time we talk here. Devils lead the Maple Leafs still 2-1. Still no score. Capital Senators, by the way. Lightning over the Ducks. That's good for me. I'm on the Ning tonight. Red Wings beat the Panthers 4-2. Did not have that. All over. I heard you talk about the Blue Jackets earlier, right before I got on here. Love the Blue Jackets tonight. I mean, the Blue Jackets are a great story, right? After what happened to the Gaudreau brothers, who a seed started.
Unbelievable.
They're not. I don't know if they're going to make the playoffs. They're not going to do any damage in the playoffs, but they're playing great. And it's a great story. Carver and I talked about it on Tuesday night. Carver and Lacey, we were both on the Jackets then, and we're both back to the Blue Jackets tonight here. So that's fantastic for them. Blues, wow, all over the Flames in the first period.
I got to ask you a question because word on the street is that we may be doing a 3-man weave in the next segment. We'll see if we can find the Black Cloud because he is the Black Cloud. The Predators are leading 1-0. Where was the game that I'm looking at? Let me hit refresh here. It is the Stars are still tied 1-1. I forget what I was going to say. Blue Jackets 3, Sharks. Limbo. How low will you go at an in-game total? It's 0-0 Washington in Ottawa. It's 2.5. Would you go under or over that number, George?
Under if you force me to.
Man. Okay. Well, we'll keep an eye on it at the back end of the show here. In-game live returns after this. I'm Dave. Sports. Hopefully we can talk about Wetzel.
This Sunday, the Rams carry the weight of their city when they face the Eagles. Then it's a clash of MVP caliber quarterbacks, Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. SportsGrid has you covered all day, starting at 8 a.m. with FST for daily fantasy lineups. Lock in your picks with Pro Football Today and stay dialed in with real-time betting on in-game live game day, only on SportsGrid.
The NBA will take center stage once football stops, and people will watch the NBA playoffs and all that. But the standings are whacked out in the Western Conference. Like Oklahoma City, Memphis, and the Houston Rockets are the best teams in the conference.
You want to talk about a team with overs and no defense? The Wizards are your team. It's unbelievable. They can't make a total high enough. It's nuts.
Sports Rage tonight. Weeknights 10 p.m. to 12 a.m. Only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
I remember one time, I don't know if Kenny will remember this. I said put 100 on, I think I left it on a text. Put 100 on this horse that won, and then Kenny called me back later and goes, "Hey, I never got the text." And I'm like,
no.
Oh yeah. Remember that, Kenny?
I would never stiff anybody. He texted me as they're loading into the gate, maybe. Like, it's too late.
The Bostonian versus the Book. The defending champion Kansas City Chiefs aim for an unprecedented third straight Super Bowl, but the Texans are ready to end the dynasty. Then the Commanders, fresh off their first playoff win since 2006, take on the high-powered offense of the Detroit Lions. Start your game day with Pro Football Today at 10 a.m. for pregame betting. Then stay in the action with in-game live game day, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back, In-Game Live, right here on SportsGrid. I'm Dave Sharapan. George Kurtz has been riding with me here, but this is usually the Black Cloud play of the night. And, I mean, I can't do it. I could do it. I don't want to do it. But I got to go find the guy who's responsible for the Black Cloud play of the night. Vincenzo, is there any way we could find the one and only opposite pick, Scott Wetzel? Can you make that happen?
How about that? How about that? The magic of television. Ah, yes, Black Cloud, play of the nighttime. All righty. After some technical difficulties, we are back and in a perfect spot because we have our play of the day. It's a good one. We're going to go to college basketball tonight, fellas. We're going to grab Gonzaga versus Oregon State. Now, 99 times out of 100, you would think this would be a Gonzaga play, right? Not tonight. Right. We're taking the Beavers of Oregon State plus 9.5 against the Zags. Why? One, Oregon State 7-1 against the spread their last 8 games at home. They're very difficult to beat in Corvallis. And two, Gonzaga on an ugly, nasty, as we like to say, your bookie will call you, 1-9 against the spread their last 10 games. They have been overvalued basically all season long. They're winning, but they're not. This is not the old Gonzaga. This is not your father's Gonzaga Bulldogs. So they may win tonight, but they're not winning by double digits. Oregon State, love them. They may win outright, Dave. Give me the Beavers plus 9.5.
Boy, is it nice to see you, sir. I mean, the beach house is working, the lights working, the mic's working, everything's working. George, thank you for working tonight and stepping up and taking a long, extended shift.
Yes.
That would be one of those ones, George, where we're in the bench yelling, Kurtz, get off the ice. Kurtz, get off the ice. And you just keep waving us back and saying, no, I'm good. I'm good. I've been doing conditioning. So, George, before you leave for the night, obviously get in the locker room. Don't untape your skates. Keep them on just in case. But
never know.
Where are we at? Yeah, where are we at? I'm going to ask you this. What is the AFC and NFC championship after when we get to Monday? And we're going to talk about college football then. But what is your NFC and AFC championship?
Now, if you would have asked me before the playoffs started, I had Philadelphia and Baltimore. And I'm not going to go away from that. I'm not. Even though, like I said, I lean more towards Buffalo now on Sunday night with the weather being that brutal there. I think the Bills will handle it better. I think Philadelphia does take care of the Rams, but if that passing game doesn't get fixed, if Hurts doesn't start to play better and A.J. Brown, whatever he's up to, they don't get on the same page here. I don't see them beating Detroit next week. I won't see that there. But that's who I picked, Philadelphia and Baltimore, so I'm not going to change here. We'll have the I-95 Super Bowl there, so I'll stick with Philadelphia and Baltimore.
Wow, that's your Super Bowl? That's crazy. Scott, you've been away and talking about this. What's the one lock for the weekend for the NFL? That side-wise, total-wise, where you're going to go –
Philadelphia without a shadow of a doubt. I would lay up to 20. You can get almost 10-1 laying 20. It's got 31-10, 34-13, 34-10, something like that written all over it. This is an awful spot for the LA Rams. Great spot last week, awful spot this week. They got whacked by Philadelphia earlier this season. They're playing on a short week. They're going across the country. They're a warm weather team playing in frigid temperatures. Stop me when you said you've had enough. How about the fact that they had an emotional situation with the fires and everything? They got to fly to Arizona. They're playing for an entire city. They win. And, oh, by the way, we got to play again on a short week, traveling 3,500 miles in cold temperatures. Yeah. And their best wide receiver or second wide receiver, Cooper Kupp, is clearly not the same player. Oh, they're going to get crushed. I would lay up to 20. You get almost 10-1 on FanDuel, some of these sites, if you do your adjusted odds. I love that on Sunday.
Okay. That was a very convincing case, and that was a lot to say, which is good. It's hard to say. I mean, it's one of those ones where you put that GIF on the social media and say he ain't lying, right? There's a lot of things you said that you ain't lying. It's good to have you in game live, game day with us here, Scott. Scott's staying. George is leaving. I'm Dave. He's Wetzel. There's no opposite picks tonight. They're coming tomorrow night. In the next segment, we got Brady Cannon joining us. We'll be here. Thank you for staying with us. George, have a good night. We'll talk to you soon.
My pleasure, boys. Good luck.
This Sunday, the Rams carry the weight of their city when they face the Eagles. Then it's a clash of MVP caliber quarterbacks, Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. SportsGrid has you covered all day, starting at 8 a.m. with FST for daily fantasy lineups. Lock in your picks with Pro Football Today and stay dialed in with real-time betting on in-game live game day, only on SportsGrid.
The NBA will take center stage once football stops, and people will watch the NBA playoffs and all that. But the standings are whacked out in the Western Conference. Like Oklahoma City, Memphis, and the Houston Rockets are the best teams in the conference.
You want to talk about a team with overs and no defense? The Wizards are your team. It's unbelievable. They can't make a total high enough. It's nuts.
Sports Rage tonight, weeknights 10 p.m. to 12 a.m., only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
I remember one time, I don't know if Kenny will remember this, I said put 100 on, I think I left it on a text, put 100 on this horse that won, and then Kenny called me back later and goes, hey, I never got the text. And I'm like,
no.
Oh, yeah. Remember that, Kenny?
I would never stiff anybody. He texted me as they're loading into the gate, maybe. Like, it's too late.
The Bostonian versus the Book. The defending champion Kansas City Chiefs aim for an unprecedented third straight Super Bowl, but the Texans are ready to end the dynasty. Then the Commanders, fresh off their first playoff win since 2006, take on the high-powered offense of the Detroit Lions. Start your game day with Pro Football Today at 10 a.m. for pregame betting. Then stay in the action with in-game live game day, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back, in-game live game day on a Thursday night. Kurtz's shift is done. Wetzel over the boards and on the ice, ready to go. And then what do? We go to my neighbor, who I still have never been to his house. He's never been to mine, and we live 10 minutes apart. What do? We come on in-game live and call Brady. I could yell out the window and say, hey, Brady, what do you want to talk about? Instead, we do it right here. BK, good to see you, brother. How are you? It's freezing here in Vegas, is it not? Before I get to the stuff, it's cold here.
I just asked my wife, I said, hey, can we turn the thermostat up a notch? I said, we've hit a little bit of a cold spell here. It's all Scott, you probably can't sympathize with us. It's all the way down to like 59,
Oh, my goodness.
That's pretty brutal for us Las Vegans. But yeah, Happy New Year to you, both Scott and Dave. Dave, I don't think I've seen you since Christmas cheer a couple days before Christmas back in 2024. So, yeah, you're right. We meet up at restaurants, we meet at casinos, we meet here on the grid. But, yeah, we've never broken bread at each other's homes before. Well, that's something we can look forward to in 2025, right?
There you go.
I think it's a must. Yeah, I think we need to do it. Before Wetzel asks you a question about the NFL weekend, I want to ask you real quick. I was on with Walsh earlier on Game Time Decisions. He called the Raider job a good job in the NFL head coaching. And I said, I disagree, Kevin, and I'm not trying to argue with you. I'm just saying, you look at the division and what you have to overcome. Oh, yeah, the Kansas City Chiefs, two-time Super Bowl champions. Mahomes is not going anywhere, neither is Andy Reid. Jim Harbaugh just got there. He got the Chargers to the playoffs, and they got Herbert. And then, oh, by the way, Peyton picked a rookie quarterback and took them to the playoffs. Do you think the Raider job is a coveted job? And, I'm in town, you're in town, you're talking to people. Do you think that Ben Johnson is going to come here after the Lions run? I don't think he is.
I think our colleague Gabe Morency made a good bet on Ben Johnson getting the Raider job, and I think he got plus 270. And I believe that number, I believe that number's come all the way down to plus 170 or so. And there's a couple different ways to look at that, Dave. I think you make a completely valid point. The division is certainly one of the toughest in football, maybe behind the NFC North and the AFC North, the AFC West. is a tough nut to crack, and it's top loaded, obviously, and the guys bringing up the rear are indeed the Las Vegas Raiders. But look at our boy Dan Mullen, who took the UNLV job. You got Allegiant Stadium. You got this city. This city is, it's the gambling capital of the world. It's becoming the sports capital of the world.
Yes.
You got Super Bowls here, so there's a big time, support factor from that side of things. The other thing is they've got a lot of room. I think with Tom Brady in the building now, I hope and I expect things are going to change. I think he's going to, he's going to call the shots, and Mark Davis is going to follow up by just opening up his checkbook. So that all is a good situation, I believe. Now, obviously, they have a ton of work to do. Their defense wasn't bad last year, and it improved towards the end of the year. They've just had, Dave, you look at, they lead the entire NFL. They've had 14 different coaches since year 2000. They haven't made the playoffs in 22 years, and those were the only 2 winning seasons they had. So it's just a long-time disaster that's going to take a minute to fix, but you got to start somewhere, right? So, yeah, it doesn't look like a great job right now, but hey, knock on wood. You and I both, Dave, you're a Steeler fan. I grew up a Niner fan, but being here as Las Vegans, we both root for this team to be successful because it's good for our town. So I hope it happens. And I think with Tom Brady now there as a part of the ownership, I hope he starts to build a team around him. And yeah, I hope it becomes the Raiders once again, that Raiders swagger that we remember from the days of John Madden.
Let me throw another one at you as far as the coaching jobs. I don't quite get this love affair with Ben Johnson. People are talking about him like he's Vince Lombardi. I mean, he was with the Miami Dolphins when they fired Joe Philbin. Dan Campbell was his buddy, so he got promoted with the Dolphins. Didn't do anything great with Miami. Then he goes to Detroit, and listen, give him credit. I'll give everyone credit for turning Jared Goff into, what he is right now in that Detroit Lions offense. But that's it. It's not like he's been doing this for 2, 3, 4, 5 different teams, but we're making him out to be like this offensive genius. I could give you a laundry list, Brady, of guys who had success supposedly with one team because they just rode a Jared Goff and they turned things around offensively a little bit there. No two ways about it. But that, they act like he's got a 20-year history. I wouldn't be going gaga over Ben Johnson. I really wouldn't. Looks like he's 15 years old. Who's going to listen to him? Anybody? Really? I don't think so.
Well, I don't necessarily disagree with you entirely, Scott, because you look at the situation that he, fell into. Dan Campbell's turned into, you can certainly argue some of his decision-making, but it's pretty tough to argue his motivational edge and the way he gets his team to perform. America's fallen in love with him, and myself included. The guy's done a tremendous job in turning that organization around, and it also has to do with the people around him. Aaron Glenn didn't start out great with that defense. He's grown into a better defensive coordinator. You got to give a ton of credit to the general manager. I think ownership, Chris Spielman, the old Detroit Lion linebacker, whatever, he's gone in there and he's consulting and it's the entire team. I think all of those guys, including the Detroit Lions, the team itself, is benefiting because of the entire, team that they've put together as far as, from management on down. And I think that's part of what makes Ben Johnson look so good. Also, the trade for Jared Goff. Look at some of the players they got with all those draft picks. Jahmyr Gibbs, so everybody's fallen into a perfect situation. And that's why they all look so good. Now, I think they are pretty good, but to your point, maybe they're a little bit inflated, if you will, to use an odds maker's term. They're maybe looking a little bit better than they are because their situation is so strong.
BK, you talked about inflated, which made me think of the games this weekend, especially the Saturday games.
Oh, boy, aren't they?
Let's start there. We got Chiefs and Texans, first game out of the gate on Saturday. And we know a lot of the people that are probably sitting around waiting for 9.5, and jumping on the Texans. Legit number should probably be 7. Maybe 7.5 to take a bet on the Texans, right? We saw this game a month ago. How much of that game comes into your mind in a handicap when you're looking to play something in this game?
Not a whole lot. I think The last we saw of the Texans was probably their best effort we've seen out of them all season. That was fantastic. And we've also seen the Chiefs get better. They've started to finally cover a couple spreads. They covered that spread over the Houston Texans not long ago. They covered against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then there's, the Andy Reid off of a bye situation. I just think the adjustment's too great. I mean, that number was 3.5, and now we're all the way to 8.5. And I would bet we're going to get to 9 and 9.5. And Dave and Scott, there's not a ton of difference between 8.5 and 9. 9's a fairly dead number, but you're going to wait to get the best of it. And we also both know that the Chiefs are an incredibly public team. They're probably going to get late support at the window and bump this number up even further. So, yeah, I think it's inflated. I think it's not done yet. I think it's going to get higher, and I think the Texans have a great chance to win the game outright.
Oh, that's good to hear, because there's not many people that think the Dogs are going to do anything. Are you going to hang with us for another segment, Brady?
Yeah, you bet.
Excellent. So Brady's staying. Wetzel's here at the beach house. I'm a couple miles away from Brady Cannon in Las Vegas. This is In Game Live. We'll be right back after this break to talk about the rest of it.
So my team didn't win this weekend, but I still did with this app that's taking over the game. Sports Millions Pick'em lets you make quick and easy predictions. Pick your favorite players, go higher or lower, and you can still win big even if your team loses. Plus, the multiplier is insane. With just a few picks, you can win big money. So get on it. They've got a welcome bonus to help you start off your winning streak.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the game starts, so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
In-game live game day on a Thursday night. I'm here, Dave Sharapan, hanging with Scott Wetzel, and for another segment, Brady Cannon. Scott Wetzel, ask Brady Cannon any question you want about any game this weekend, because BK's got it all in the wheelhouse. Take it away.
All right. I said earlier, Brady, I love Philadelphia. I think this is a very difficult spot for the Rams. Not to mention that Philadelphia beat them pretty handily in Los Angeles. Short week, flying across the country, warm weather team, playing in cold weather. They're the second best wide receiver, however you want to describe Cooper Kupp. Clearly not, healthy right now. Something's going on with him. I think they're going to get crushed. That's my best bet of the weekend. What about you, Eagles, Rams?
Yeah, I don't know if it's my best bet just yet, but I am certainly on the side of the Eagles. It's the one number that I made that's actually pretty close, or I actually say one of the two numbers that I made. I made the Ravens pretty close to where they are as well. And same thing with Philadelphia. I made them about a 6.5-point favorite. You guys both know when we get to this stage in the postseason, especially the divisional round and the wild card round, if you can just pick who's going to win the game, then typically you're going to land on the team that covers the spread. Over 80% of the teams in the regular season, that's the case, jumps up to about 87, 88% of the time in the wild card and divisional rounds. The point spread hardly even matters. And we've seen that. I believe it played out. Yeah, it was, every single game, 6 for 6 in the wild card round. So when the Dogs covered, they won outright. There wasn't a single favorite that won the game but did not cover. And I think that's what we have here as well. And you talked about the situation. Yeah, it's going to be extremely tough for the Los Angeles Rams. And you know what? Gabe actually jogged my memory on this last night. We've seen this pattern out of the Los Angeles Rams, especially for the first half of the season. You remember that first game of the year when they left everything on the mat, they emptied the tank against the Detroit Lions. Great game. Matthew Stafford going back to Ford Field, and they nearly won that ball game. They came up short, and then the next week they got pounded. So it feels, and they did that, I want to say 2 or 3 or 4 times throughout this regular season, especially the first half. And I want to say it's a similar situation here where they just, the emotions, the travel, everything that went on. I also think when you see the way Minnesota played for the second week in a row, that it's not as impressive, right? I mean, they were awful against Detroit, and now they're awful against against the Los Angeles Rams. So you're like, wait a minute, okay, maybe those wins for the Lions and the Rams aren't really that impressive. Maybe it's more how bad Minnesota was. So let's not get too enamored with how great the Rams are all of a sudden, and couple that with the situation that they're facing. I'm with you. I think the Eagles run away with this one. I think double digits. I heard you say 20 earlier. That's bold. Right. I'll say double digits.
He doesn't get scared of anything. When he gets wound up like that, Brady, he just says, oh, yeah, lay 20. I don't know about
scared
laying
money
20.
Doesn't
Maybe
win.
Laying an old 9-10. Yeah, exactly. That's true. There's no scared money Sunday night. It's the game of the year. It's the game of the playoffs. It's two really good teams, both odds-on favorites, to win the AFC all season, odds-on favorites to be in the Super Bowl all season. You talked about making a number. They asked me for the send-out, Brady. I told them make it pick and see where the bettors take you, because I don't know who's going to win. I still don't know who's going to win on a Thursday. I like the game to go over, and I very rarely like overs. What do you like in the big game Sunday night, Brady?
Well, I made the number 1.5 in favor of the Ravens. I was a little surprised to see the Bills open up as a favorite, but I wonder what you think, Dave. I think that's kind of telling. And I also believe that they wanted to make sure they took some Ravens money. So, okay, hey, let's open up the Bills. Let's open up on that side of the fence. We'll take a bet and we'll go from there. Our good friend Steve Fezzik, I've heard him say he makes the line pick 'em. We're all in that window. But I think the Bills win the game, Dave. Our good friend John Murray at the Westgate Superbook, he believes his crew there, Ed Salmons, all the guys, they believe that the Ravens and the Bills are the best two teams in football. And they do give the Bills a significant amount of home field advantage here. So I believe they lean Bills in that building. And, it's always good to be on the side of the book. And I kind of believe that. I think this home field is something for sure for Buffalo. It just feels like their year. We know how Lamar tends to struggle in the playoffs. He hasn't done it yet, but it always seems to pop up when he has that game where he lays that egg. And it could happen here in a frigid, cold environment in Buffalo, New York. Yeah, I kind of like the Bills to come out on top this one. I think it'll be a great game. I can't necessarily argue with the over there for you. The Bills defense, they had a great game last week, but that's a totally different offense in Denver than it is in Baltimore. So I think it's a lot of back and forth here, and maybe who has the ball last. I think Buffalo gets away with the victory.
That's
right.
the type
Jaden
of game
Daniels,
I think
great
we have.
story. Historically, though, Brady, these Cinderella type of teams generally lose the next round. Are they going to show? Or are they going to cover against Detroit?
I think they're going to cover, Scott. This is, we talked about inflated lines, and just like the Kansas City Chiefs, the Detroit Lions, and we kind of alluded to this with the love affair with their coach, Dan Campbell, and the success that they've had and the offense that they run. They're exciting to watch. The American public has fallen in love with them as well. And we know there's teaser protection built into this line all the way at 9.5. They don't want you to tease it down under the 3. And Dave, you kind of talked about this too. You got the Eagles, the Lions, and the Chiefs. You're talking a boatload of money line parlays and 6-point, 6.5, 7-point teasers. One of those teams is going to ruin things and allow the books to keep the lights on Monday, right? I kind of think it's going to be the Texans that'll spoil the party, but I do believe that the Commanders will cover. I think this line should be closer to like 6. I think probably both the Chiefs and the Lions should be roughly 6-point favorites, not 8.5, 9. So I think the Lions win and advance, but I think the Commanders cover.
Love it. Thank you, sir, for joining us tonight. We'll probably see you again here on SportsGrid, at least on the weekend. Big games. We got to talk to Brady Cannon. Thanks for joining us. Wetzel's staying. Wetzel's good. He can hear us. I'm Dave. We'll be back after the break. See you, BK.
This Sunday, the Rams carry the weight of their city when they face the Eagles. Then it's a clash of MVP caliber quarterbacks, Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. SportsGrid has you covered all day, starting at 8 a.m. with FST for daily fantasy lineups. Lock in your picks with Pro Football Today and stay dialed in with real-time betting on in-game live game day, only on SportsGrid.
The NBA will take center stage once football stops, and people will watch the NBA playoffs and all that. But the standings are whacked out in the Western Conference. Like Oklahoma City, Memphis, and the Houston Rockets are the best teams in the conference.
You want to talk about a team with overs and no defense? The Wizards are your team. It's unbelievable. They can't make a total high enough. It's nuts.
Sports Rage tonight, weeknights 10 p.m. to 12 a.m., only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
I remember one time, I don't know if Kenny will remember this, I said put 100 on, I think I left it on a text, put 100 on this horse that won, and then Kenny called me back later and goes, hey, I never got the text. And I'm like,
no.
Oh yeah. Remember that, Kenny?
I would never stiff anybody. He texted me as they're loading into the gate, maybe, like it's too late.
The Bostonian versus the Book. The defending champion Kansas City Chiefs aim for an unprecedented third straight Super Bowl, but the Texans are ready to end the dynasty. Then the Commanders, fresh off their first playoff win since 2006, take on the high-powered offense of the Detroit Lions. Start your game day with Pro Football Today at 10 a.m. for pregame betting. Then stay in the action with in-game live game day, only on SportsGrid.
In-game live game day on a Thursday night right here on SportsGrid. I'm Dave. Wetzel in the chair at the beach house. sun shining on its face, and Cam Stewart's coming up in the next segment, in the second half hour here. He'll talk some hockey, I'm sure. He'll talk some golf. What we haven't really touched on all night is the basketball. In the NBA, Wetzel, we got the Pacers leading the Pistons 107-100. There's only a minute and a half left in that game. It's done. The Suns are not going to cover a big number against the Wizards, 123-117. The game of the night, the NBA's previews, finals, whatever this was supposed to be, is a blowout. It's 119-81. The Thunder lead the Cavs. I am hoping between the two games left, Scott Wetzel, do you have a play in either Clippers, Portland, or Houston, Sacramento? You have to say yes.
Oh, yeah, definitely do. Definitely do. By the way, I did love OKC, right? Revenge match from losing in Cleveland last week. I mean, that would have been a huge statement had the Cadavers beaten OKC second time in a week, and this time, obviously, in Oakley. I didn't expect a 30-point blowout, but Cleveland didn't show, and your boy Donovan Mitchell, once again, another big game, no show. But as far as the Clips and then Jailblazers, we'll start there. Not a bad play on LA. You're getting, it was 6. Then it went up to 6.5. And right now it's sitting at 7. It's still not too bad, but, I liked it obviously a lot more at 6. But they beat the snot. Who doesn't over Portland? But they especially do. 18-4, Dave, are the Clippers' last 22 meetings against Portland, including 10-1 their last 11. Again, when it was 6 and even at 7, I'll take my chances. They're going to win, but I'll take my chances when you dominate a team like that they'll win comfortably, probably by double digits. The Clippers, they're basically a mediocre team, 22-17, but as a favorite this year, 13-1. So again, they're not going to lose. They don't lose as a favorite. Portland, 5-14 straight up their last 19 games. So hard laying 7 on the road, but I like the Clips tonight. They did play last night, but they won by 50, 60, literally against Brooklyn. So they didn't break a sweat last night.
It was 59 they won by. The in-game number at one point was 62.5. They didn't cover that. The margin of victory was the 9th highest of all time in NBA history in a regular season game. Incredible. And then they play back-to-back, and they're 7-point favorites on the road. The disparity between good and bad teams in the NBA has never been higher. But we got another game coming up. Houston is at Sacramento. And I am a little bit surprised that Sacramento is this big of a favorite with the way that Houston is playing. Right? This feels a little bit high. Do you have anything you want to give to the people in this basketball game, Scott?
Yeah, got a couple things here. First up, I do like this Rockets team, 27-12, playing good ball. Sacramento, 20-20, but 7-2 since they fired Mike Brown and Doug Christie has taken over. But they did lose their last game against Milwaukee, so maybe they're kind of coming back to earth. Rockets 22-8 their last 30 games, 10-3 their last 13, pretty good. 10-4 against the spread last 14 road games. Pretty good. You're getting 4.5, maybe by the hook, get it up to 5. How about Sacramento? Only 5-12 against the spread their last 17 at home. Again, you might be able to throw that out the window because things are obviously different with Christie, but I like Houston getting 4.5. I think they're worth a sprinkle on the money line as well. That's a pretty big number for a Rocket team that has 15 games over 500.
It's one of those ones where I'm sitting in a book and I'm going, guys, I know Sacramento's playing good now, but you over-adjusted. This line should be 2, just given the home court, right? Like, that's what I saw. That's what I see. We'll find out, by the time we get off the air.
I got a Sharapan trend if you want for this game.
Love it. Give it to me. Come on. You got 30 seconds, though.
But perfect. That's all right. We'll get it in. Sacramento. 0-12 against the spread their last 12 games played on Thursday.
What?
I know you love those trends. How about that? 0-12.
The day of the week trends. Where's my glasses? Hold on. Are you coming on after being away for all that time in the first hour and giving me a day of the week trend?
0-12 is 0-12, my friend.
On Thursdays?
I know it's not even Saturday. Saturday and Friday night, you can kind of reason it. Thursday, they're looking forward to the
What the hell
weekend.
kind
I
of
don't know.
database do you have? Unbelievable. He's Scott Wetzel. We got a half hour left. I'm Dave Sharapan, in-game live right here on SportsGrid.
This Sunday, the Rams carry the weight of their city when they face the Eagles. Then it's a clash of MVP caliber quarterbacks, Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. SportsGrid has you covered all day, starting at 8 a.m. with FST for daily fantasy lineups. Lock in your picks with Pro Football Today and stay dialed in with real-time betting on in-game live game day, only on SportsGrid.
The NBA will take center stage once football stops, and people will watch the NBA playoffs and all that. But the standings are whacked out in the Western Conference. Like Oklahoma City, Memphis, and the Houston Rockets are the best teams in the conference.
You want to talk about a team with overs and no defense? The Wizards are your team. It's unbelievable. They can't make a total high enough. It's nuts.
Sports Rage tonight, weeknights 10 p.m. to 12 a.m., only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
I remember one time, I don't know if Kenny will remember this. I said put 100 on, I think I left it on a text. Put 100 on this horse that won, and then Kenny called me back later and goes, hey, I never got the text. And I'm like,
no.
Oh, yeah. Remember that, Kenny?
I would never stiff anybody. What he texted me as they're loading into the gate, maybe. Like, it's too late.
The Bostonian versus the Book. The defending champion Kansas City Chiefs aim for an unprecedented third straight Super Bowl, but the Texans are ready to end the dynasty. Then the Commanders, fresh off their first playoff win since 2006, take on the high-powered offense of the Detroit Lions. Start your game day with Pro Football Today at 10 a.m. for pregame betting. Then stay in the action with in-game live game day, only on SportsGrid.
In-game live game day continues right here on SportsGrid. I'm Dave Sharapan. Scott Wetzel was here. We just looked at the basketball games in the NBA that haven't started yet. For review, Scott, your Black Cloud play of the night, which some people may have missed earlier, is a college basketball game, and it's against the Gonzaga Bulldogs. Are you serious with this play? Again, fill the people in. Maybe for an evening play. Oregon State plus the points. You like this?
Yeah. Gonzaga's 1-9 against the spread their last 10 games. I mean, they're monster favorites. They're good, but I don't think this is a national championship caliber Zaga team like we've seen before. They always find ways to lose, but I don't think this team. This is maybe second day, first, third round, maybe and out for Gonzaga. But, and they're winning the games. They won Washington State by 13, but that wasn't a cover. San Diego, they won by 13. That's not a cover. Those are lousy teams, whereas Oregon State's pretty good, and they're at home, and they're great at home. Tough to win there. Getting almost double digits, so give me Oregon State. You know what I would do? This is almost one of those bet the underdogs and over. I do like the over a lot as well. 150 and a half. Both are strong over teams. Zaga can score, as they always can, but so can Oregon State. So I think it's got to hit the 151. You want to bet, Oregon State plus the 9.5, then maybe go with the over, thinking Oregon State scores 70 points. You're guaranteed a split, maybe a double winner. That's not a bad deal. Oregon State put 91 on the board last game, albeit against Pacific.
Yeah. It's funny because the numbers are so usually extra with Gonzaga. And one of the struggles is trying to see, because they've been good for so long, and the one constant there is the coach, Few's been there, and their conference has not been good. Trying to figure out the conferences and different things like that is one of I think you have to, as the season gets closer to March, figure out which conference is better or better up at the top, and they're playing more high leverage basketball when you're looking at college basketball future odds. And I know, if Vinny can find it, we'll put it up and we'll take a look at it, because we saw some games last night where, the SEC again, Tennessee held their home court. They won. Kentucky again. There's just, the SEC is separating itself in college basketball, which I think it's worthy of a discussion. Maybe not right now. I want to ask you something else. It just came across my my screen here.
I will tell you real
Washington
quickly,
Capitals.
5 of the top 8 teams, real quick. 5 of the top 8 teams, odds-wise, are from the SEC. Auburn, Tennessee, Kentucky, Alabama, Florida. 5, and there's only 3 other teams in the top 8.
Which I think means it's fluid. And I know, when I was doing it in the book, the Big 12 was the conference. And then, so it would be Kansas one week. And then it would be Texas Tech would win a game, and you would make their odds lower, and you would make Kansas State a favorite. And you had to keep rotating all of these teams. And it's funny, when you look at that, there's teams that are legit competitive and are going to make the tournament that aren't even on the top 10 list on that graphic, like when we put it up.
You know what they're going to have to do?
What?
They're going to have to change the rules. The rule now is you can't play a team in your conference in the first round. I think it's in the second round as well. I got to double check on that. But with these conferences, you got 50,000 teams in these conferences now. You're going to get legitimate. Like we looked at it last night, a dozen teams out of the SEC. If you're not going to be able to pair them up in the first or second round, then you're going to get a lot of weird seeds. That's what that's going to create. Don't bitch and complain about how a team is seeded low or high. The reason why is because they can't face each other in the first round.
Yeah, well, it's the first round is the rule when they try to avoid it by putting them on opposite sides of the brackets or different sides so they don't play in the second round. It's inevitable. If you get 11 teams in a tournament or 12 teams in a tournament, which the SEC might, they're going to have to play in the second round. Everything will be fine. I asked George earlier before you got in, the Capitals and the Senators were tied 0-0 after 1, 0-0 after 2. They were tied 0-0 after 3. And I was just going to ask you, does either team in this spot have an edge? And then the goal horn should be sounded because the Capitals just scored and won the game 1-0.
Wow.
Have you ever bet a hockey game under 1.5? Have you ever done that before?
I don't think so. I wouldn't recommend it, depending on how much time is left in the game, obviously. But I don't think so. Who scored for Washington?
It's fun. It'll give you that heart palpitation if you need something to get you going. Bet under 1.5 in a hockey game and then watch it, because every shot you're hoping gets stopped. Because if they score at any point and there's going to be an empty net, the sweat gets real. I'll give you one guess. Who scored the goal to win the game for the Washington Capitals?
Don't tell me Ovechkin, but that's
of course.
Of course. Can he do anything? I was thinking about this driving around, hearing the guys this afternoon talking hockey and stuff, because the big slate of games tonight. Can Ovechkin do anything that would make you say, whether it's next year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever, he's the greatest player of all time? Can he take that away from Gretzky?
Obviously, they win another cup. It becomes a real discussion. Being the age that he is, winning that on a team that had no expectations. Don't forget, for a lot of Gretzky's career at Edmonton, he had Yari Curry. On the second line, he had Mark Messier, Glenn Anderson. In net, Grant Fuhr, Kevin Lowe. I could go on. And remember, because, the argument that I used to make all the time is that Mario Lemieux is the best hockey player that I've ever seen in my life. I think he was better. He made guys like Warren Young, Doug Shedden, 40 goal scorers in the NHL. Robbie Brown couldn't skate, and he scored 50 goals in the NHL playing next to Mario Lemieux. So I think there's a discussion and an argument for some people in some spaces where, yes, I think Ovi obviously gets in a discussion. He's one of the best players to play of all time. If for nothing else, his physicality, Scott. Like, he plays a different game, right, than a lot of guys on that list.
I'll throw this at you. Tough bad beat here.
What happened?
This game started before we came on air. So, but Devils in Toronto, all right, over-under was 5.5, Dave. Devils are on a 17-2 under run. Now, I looked it up because a lot of those were 6.5s, but they've had 5 goals or less in all but 2 of those games. I mean, or 2 or 3. It's been 5 goals or less, right? It's 2-1 midway through the third period. You're looking great.
Yeah.
They combined for 3 goals in the final 12.5 minutes, and we're tied at 3, and the game's going to go over.
Yep. 3-3 going to overtime.
They come.
They come fast. They come fast.
Yeah.
The Ducks are tied 3-3 with the Lightning. The Flyers are leading the Islanders. Tried to tell everybody earlier in the show that the Islanders were going to give up the lead. They have. It's 3-2, 16 minutes left in the third period. Blackhawks are leading the Predators, the biggest dog of the day today. The Blackhawks at Nashville. It's 2-1, 5 minutes left in the second period. Real quick, Wetzel, Rangers at the Utah Hockey Club. It's tied 2-2. The first period isn't even over. The in-game number, hit refresh, 7 and 8.5. You going over or under that number?
Nah, I'm going to go under. I do like the Rangers tonight, though. They're playing a little better hockey. You know, they lost in overtime at Colorado the other day, but they've won a couple of games. I think they're out of that nasty 3-week, 4-week slump that they were in. So I would grab them. It'll be close to pick them. So I would take the Rangers.
It is going to be pick 'em. All right. Well, what's not going to be pick 'em is Cam Stewart's going to be joining us in the next segment. We'll have more hockey talk. Scott Wetzel, Dave Sharapan, SportsGrid, in-game live on a Thursday night.
This Sunday, the Rams carry the weight of their city when they face the Eagles. Then it's a clash of MVP-caliber quarterbacks, Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. SportsGrid has you covered all day, starting at 8 a.m. with FST for daily fantasy lineups. Lock in your picks with Pro Football Today and stay dialed in with real-time betting on in-game live game day, only on SportsGrid.
The NBA will take center stage once football stops, and people will watch the NBA playoffs and all that. But the standings are whacked out in the Western Conference. Like Oklahoma City, Memphis, and the Houston Rockets are the best teams in the conference.
You want to talk about a team with overs and no defense? The Wizards are your team. It's unbelievable. They can't make a total high enough. It's nuts.
Sports Rage tonight. Weeknights 10 p.m. to 12 a.m. Only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
I remember one time, I don't know if Kenny will remember this, I said put 100 on, I think I left it on a text, put 100 on this horse that won, and then Kenny called me back later and goes, hey, I never got the text. And I'm like,
no.
Oh, yeah. Remember that, Kenny?
I would never stiff anybody. He texted me as they're loading into the gate, maybe, like it's too late.
The Bostonian versus the Book. The defending champion Kansas City Chiefs aim for an unprecedented third straight Super Bowl, but the Texans are ready to end the dynasty. Then the Commanders, fresh off their first playoff win since 2006, take on the high-powered offense of the Detroit Lions. Start your game day with Pro Football Today at 10 a.m. for pregame betting. Then stay in the action with in-game live game day, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back, In-Game Live, Thursday. I'm Dave. I have Scott with me. And Vinny, hit the horn if you can. There it is! That's the way you bring it in, What just happened, Cam? What just happened? Tell the people.
William Nylander in overtime. 4-3, good guys. Anyway, we took a +1.5 money line, and the Leafs have not lost 4 games in regulation. They got the game to overtime with a late goal. You know what, Scott? I don't like, because you had the under. It was actually a good play in the game. It was very defensive for a while. Good goaltending. Things kind of opened up in the third. Welcome to hockey. So the Leafs just beat the Devils 4-3. They were a nice pooch late, too. They scored their the tying goal like 4 minutes left. They got a really nice price on these guys. I heard your argument. Dave, I can't endorse that. First of all, Lemieux, yes. Probably I would consider Mario Lemieux underrated for all the help that he gave slugs. But the one thing about Gretzky that Ovechkin's a goal scorer. He has no game compared to Gretzky when it comes to setting up guys, hockey sense, whatever. But he is tougher. So there's a lot of categories we can have with this, but I think Wayne Gretzky's a way better hockey player than Ovechkin. Just me. But Ovechkin, you want to talk about bringing it to the table with physicality too, and he has a better, like one of those, his one-timers, like almost unstoppable. But other than that, Gretzky, hockey sense, brains, assists, things that he does a lot better. Like more of a, he feeds guys more. Ovechkin's a great goal scorer. I wouldn't think he's better than Gretzky. That's my opinion.
I think you're right. I think that's legit. Nobody made those passes better than Wayne Gretzky. I mean, really, when you think about it, Mario did, but he was hurt so much and fought the cancer and everything else. So I'll give you that. 2 big hockey games tonight, and we'll get to the golf and everything else in the weekend. But Edmonton at Colorado. Colorado, a really short favorite. Kind of surprising with Edmonton on the back-to-back. Or the Kings, a short favorite at Vancouver. Side total, what are you looking at for the hockey for tonight, Cam?
This is it. I know a lot of people are going to like the Kings tonight. I'm kind of going to go contrarian. Gabe and I talk about it. He's in the Vancouver area. The media is we're killing these guys right now. This is a huge game for Vancouver. They're coming off an embarrassing loss. I think this is the one thing about hockey players. They have a lot of pride. This is the type of game I think Vancouver really steps up and wins. So I lean Vancouver, but I can understand. Listen, if LA wins this game, there's going to be more problems in Vancouver. Like the media's already ripping these guys' heads off. They need a solid performance. I think they get it tonight. And I have a lean to Colorado. Edmonton, a little bit lucky against Minnesota. I watched that game, and Minnesota had a lot of chances. I'll give Edmonton credit. Their goaltender actually played well. Minnesota got snake bitten a bit. So I think Colorado at home. I was on the Rangers the other night, and I got burned the opposite of this game. I lost in overtime, and the Rangers I thought were the better team. But that's the thing. I think Colorado is going to get their act together tonight, especially McDavid versus McKinnon, and Colorado's at home. So I have a lean to the Avalanche, Dave. Other than that, I don't know what else to do. Is there any late NBA? I'd actually take a shot. Like, why is Sacramento laying 4.5 to Houston? Like,
we just said the same thing. I don't know.
I'm sorry. This is the trap line of the night, but I'm going down with the ship. The Houston Rockets, I had them last night. Didn't they win by like 40 on a back-to-back? I don't care if it's a back-to-back. I'm not laying 4.5 with Sacramento against Houston. Give me the Rockets out of principle. Like, I don't care. If Sacramento beats us, they beat us. That line should be pick 4.5.
How many points do you have to get to take Portland tonight, Cam? Because the Clippers won by 59 last night. And I know you like the dumpster dive.
I'll take
will
7.5.
You take 7?
Yes, I will. Give me Portland tonight. It's a smaller play. I like Portland. LA coming off that big win. Portland's been a little bit better at home. Give me the 7 on my book. I got 7 in the hook with the Blazers. I will take it. College, what are we doing in college? I know there's tons of late games, but it's a real
Gonzaga and Oregon State.
Yes.
What do you think?
What do you think? Who's got teeth and chops down trees? Chomp, 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 chomp. 9 buck teeth with the Beavers, please. They're hot as hell. Have you seen these guys play? Gonzaga beat Washington State by 13. I think Oregon State's a better team. They're at home, tough environment. Give me the Beavers. I'll take 9 points of them. And you know me, Dave. It's a dog night. Other than hockey, these games are a pick 'em. But I am going to take the Houston. I just can't believe Sacramento's -4.5. I could be walking. Dave, you know me too. I smell traps. I even know it's a trap. Like I'm a mouse. I'm going in for the cheese, and now the trap's got me. I'm dead. But you know what? I'm willing to take the risk because that cheese looks pretty damn good. Real good.
It's the black cloud. It's the black cloud play of the night.
I wish
the
you luck.
the college basketball game, the Oregon State
Oh,
Beavers.
are you on the Beavers?
Right, right there. Yes.
Yes.
So
God,
Beavers
yes.
is one thing. All right. Fill the people in on how did the first round go in the golf, because you came on yesterday. I was hoping. I mean, we got a good goal horn. Welcome in with the Maple Leafs winning. First round of the golf. Sum it up for the people.
It was a very good round of golf. One of our usual first-round leaders, I didn't have him, but we had him T5. JT posted as a lead at 10 under. Dave, we talked about it. It didn't matter
10?
what course. Yeah, trust me. I told you, the winning score is going to be high 20s. I don't come in here and make stuff up. I just tell it the way it is. That course is, and the funny thing is, I was watching the broadcast. These guys are like, these greens are hard as rocks. Yeah, but the fairways are also bouncing the ball 50, 60 yards past, and they're going in with wedges all day. It's a joke, man. They're going to eat this course up. All my guys. Oh, yeah, Scott, our friend Eric Cole. Want to know what I did? Classic Cam. I'm watching. Ooh, he triple bogeys the first hole. Know what I do? Unnotify him, unstar him off. Birdie, 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 birdie. Guy goes 7 under after a triple bogey. How's that? Like, it's just like, I'm telling you, the stuff I say is real. Like, when I watch stuff, bad things happen. So I turned off the phone, good things happened. So that's what I do.
How about this? How about this? How about some dude, Tomas Macha, who the Macaac is only a plus 315 underdog to Novak Djokovic.
Oh, I know.
Is the Joker full in that? He's only minus 4-1 against some stiff no one's ever heard of. Maybe you have.
Settle down, Scott. You don't call Macha a stiff. He's a real deal. He's no tomato can. He's the.
Oh, come on! You can't even spell his last name. Come on, what is it? Macho Man?
Macha, whatever. I'll tell you, Djokovic is getting older by the day. No play for Mr. Gray. They don't hang lines like that. He almost lost his last match as a 15-1 favorite, dude. Be careful.
Thank you, Cam.
This Sunday, the Rams carry the weight of their city when they face the Eagles. Then it's a clash of MVP caliber quarterbacks, Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. SportsGrid has you covered all day, starting at 8 a.m. with FST for daily fantasy lineups. Lock in your picks with Pro Football Today and stay dialed in with real-time betting on in-game live game day, only on SportsGrid.
The NBA will take center stage once football stops, and people will watch the NBA playoffs and all that. But the standings are whacked out in the Western Conference. Like Oklahoma City, Memphis, and the Houston Rockets are the best teams in the conference.
You want to talk about a team with overs and no defense? The Wizards are your team. It's unbelievable. They can't make a total high enough. It's nuts.
Sports Rage tonight, weeknights 10 p.m. to 12 a.m., only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
I remember one time, I don't know if Kenny will remember this, I said put 100 on, I think I left it on a text, put 100 on this horse that won, and then Kenny called me back later and goes, hey, I never got the text. And I'm like,
no.
Oh, yeah. Remember that, Kenny?
I would never stiff anybody. He texted me as they're loading into the gate, maybe, like it's too late.
The Bostonian versus the Book. The defending champion Kansas City Chiefs aim for an unprecedented third straight Super Bowl, but the Texans are ready to end the dynasty. Then the Commanders, fresh off their first playoff win since 2006, take on the high-powered offense of the Detroit Lions. Start your game day with Pro Football Today at 10 a.m. for pregame betting. Then stay in the action with in-game live game day, only on SportsGrid.
In-game live game day. Me and Wetzel will close the show. I'm Dave Sharapan, Scott Wetzel at the beach house, hanging out. Just one of those nights where you loved OKC. I loved OKC. And we were talking hockey and stuff with George, who, stepped up and killed a 5-on-3 penalty. It was great. OKC won 134-114. 20-point win. Wow. Listen, Cleveland. Yeah, that's one of those ones where you go, okay. But alas, these things happen. Remember last night, the Boston Celtics were gigantic favorites pregame. In-game, I suggested that -1.5 was going to win because they were going to win the game. By the time we got off the air, Wetzel, they lost to the Toronto Raptors. Yeah. Tomorrow, your Boston Celtics are 12-point favorites, 12.5-point favorites against Orlando. We'll be back here tomorrow, and whether we're sitting on the same sides or different sides, I don't know. And we will have guests and things like that. But in case we don't, are you laying or taking with the Boston Celtics against the Orlando Magic tomorrow? 12.5 points.
Yeah. I think I'm going to lay it. Listen, they're in a bad streak, 3 straight bad games. Well, they're too good to not bounce out of it, So I think, tomorrow night, Friday night, TD Ward will be sold out, good crowd. Mm-hmm. You're not this was 2 weeks ago or even a week ago before their little 3-game slide here, although they won one of the games. And this probably would be 15, 16 the way the Magic are playing. So you're getting a relatively decent number, believe it or not. So I'm going to lay it. Oh, by the way, just because I did bring this up and for whatever reason you decided to defend him, Donovan Mitchell, remember when I was ripping him, a few weeks back when he, a couple days ago when he only scored the 11 against OKC, but I said, all right, you won the game, but okay, it's going to come back to haunt you. 8 points tonight, 3 of 15 shooting, 2 of the biggest games on the schedule, and he hasn't scored 20 points combined. Yeah.
I don't think he's right,
Cleveland. You're not going to win with him.
I don't think he's physically right. I don't know. I mean, I got the OKC hat on. I liked OKC with you. Yeah. I mean, there's times where, yes, Donovan Mitchell's going to have those games, and you're right about that. But still not ready to just –
He's a great number 2, Dave. He's a great number 2. He can't be your number 1. Just can't.
All right.
He needs a Batman. He's a Robin. He's not a Batman. There's not many Batmans in the league. Don't get me wrong.
No.
And there's nothing wrong with being a Robin because that's an accomplishment.
As long as you got a Batman with all the tools, you can't have a fake Batman who goes to reach in the the bat belt and doesn't have anything to work with. Okay.
Right.
And I don't know. I'm getting texts right now. The Cavs will be fine. It's only 1 game of 82. They've had a very good season up to this point. It's back-to-back. They're going to be fine. Calm down. All right? I got to ask you this before we go. I mean, we talked about, and you mentioned you couldn't even pronounce that guy's name. Were you a big fan of Macho Man Savage? I love Macho Man Savage.
No.
Like, ooh, can you dig it? Like,
I think that is the dumbest stuff in the world. I don't know how anyone loves that wrestling. I don't get it. I just don't get it.
Who are you right now? What are you talking about? You didn't have any of that in your life?
None of it. Zero, less than zero interest in that. I would just as soon watch the roller rink. Where the broads are going around the ring and they're beating the crap out of each other. Channel 9 growing up.
Was phenomenal. Roller derby was
good
great.
stuff. Now that was good stuff.
What?
Rigged or not, but at least that was entertaining. Seeing the girls and women go around the ring and stuff and giving each other elbows.
The wrestling was a male soap opera, must-see television at least once a week. It was great. I mean, you can't leave with this. Sky's the limit and space is the place. Oh, yeah. I mean, come on. That's good stuff.
No interest. Zero. I don't get the fascination. Bunch of guys in tights I mean, really? Really?
You're
Of
missing
course, I don't get
all
wrestling
of it.
either. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oregon State, let's go. We need some points for the Beavers tonight. That's the play of
I'm
the day.
dropping a hammer down on you, the people's elbow. He's Scott Wetzel. I'm Dave Sharapan. Thank you for hanging with us. Vinny, Matt, Free Talk. We'll see you tomorrow night. Game Live Game.